The Arizona sun was a hammer on brass, and Ethan Cole was a fool beneath it. His beat-up sedan, now sporting a worrying hiss from under the hood, had given up its ghost on a stretch of reservation road so empty it seemed to mock the very concept of destination. He was a graphic designer from Phoenix, a man who lived in the curated glow of screens, now stranded in a landscape of raw, breathtaking enormity. As he stared at the shimmering horizon, feeling the panic of isolation seep in, he saw them. They appeared as if woven from the desert itself, two young women on horseback, moving with a rhythm that spoke of deep familiarity with the land. They were identical, with long, dark hair braided with strips of leather and turquoise, their faces solemn yet bright with curious intelligence. They pulled up beside him, their horses snorting softly. "Car trouble?" one asked, her voice melodic. The other simply looked from his city shoes to his distressed expression, a faint, unreadable smile on her lips. "Died completely," Ethan admitted, wiping sweat from his brow. "No cell service out here." The sisters exchanged a glance, a whole conversation happening in that silent moment. "We are Liwan and Soleil," the first one said. "Liwan," he would learn. "Our home is not far. You can use our phone, get some water." Gratitude washed over him. "Ethan, I'd be so grateful. I can wait with the car for a tow truck." "Tomorrow," Soleil said, her first word to him decisive. "The sun will not be kind. Come, we will send someone for the car later." The invitation was not a gentle suggestion but a statement of fact, delivered with an authority that left no room for debate. After a brief, internal struggle between city-bred caution and sheer necessity, Ethan accepted. He grabbed his backpack and climbed up behind Liwan, trying not to hold on too tightly as the horse set off across the scrubland, away from the empty road. They arrived at a modest, well-kept house nestled against a rise, shaded by cottonwood trees. The air smelled of wood smoke and sage. An older woman stood in the doorway, her posture straight, her long silver-streaked hair flowing over her shoulders. Her eyes, the same dark, perceptive pools as her daughter's, took Ethan in with a slow, measured gaze. "Mother, this is Ethan. His machine failed on the south road," Liwan announced. "I am Kaya," the woman said, her voice like smooth stone. "Welcome. You will stay until things are mended." The hospitality was immediate and absolute. A place was set for him at the table for a simple, delicious meal of stew and fry bread. The girls were attentive, refilling his water, asking polite questions about his life in the city, their questions sharp and insightful. Kaya spoke less, but her presence filled the room. There was a quiet gravity to her, a stillness that spoke of strength and, Ethan sensed, a deep, old sorrow. That night, as a spectacular blanket of stars unfurled overhead, Ethan sat outside with the twins. "Your mother is very kind," he offered. "It's incredibly generous to take in a stranger." Soleil looked at the stars. "She has been alone too long. Since our father walked on, 5 winters passed. The house needs a man's presence." It was an odd thing to say, Ethan thought, but he chalked it up to a cultural difference. "Well, I'm just passing through. But I'll be sure to thank her properly." Liwan smiled, a swift, bright thing. "You are here now. That is what matters." The next day, no tow truck arrived. The girls explained the mechanic from the nearby town was away until the weekend. Ethan, though anxious about work, found his protests gently but firmly deflected. Instead, he was drawn into the rhythm of their lives. He helped Soleil mend a fence, his soft hands blistering beside her capable ones. He listened, mesmerized, as Liwan told stories of the constellations, tales where the stars were ancestors and animal spirits. And always, there was Kaya. She began to teach him small things, how to split wood for the stove efficiently, the names of medicinal plants that grew near the wash. Her touch, when she guided his hands on an axe handle, was firm and brief, but it sent an unexpected jolt through him. He found himself watching her, drawn to the quiet dignity in her movements, the rare, transformative beauty of her smile when one of her daughters said something amusing. He realized with a growing sense of confusion, not just grateful, but genuinely happy. The digital noise of his life faded, replaced by the whisper of wind and the crackle of fire. He felt more grounded, more real, than he had in years. And he began to notice the looks the twins exchanged, looks of quiet satisfaction, of a plan unfolding. He noticed how they subtly pushed him and Kaya together, asking him to help her lift a heavy pot, suggesting they show him the old canyon drawings at sunset, always finding reasons to leave him alone with her for a few moments. A week slipped by in this strange, beguiling bubble. Ethan's initial urgency had evaporated like morning dew. He called his office, fabricating a story about a complex car repair and remote work, surprised by how little he cared about the lie. His world had condensed to this house, this family. One evening, after a meal where the conversation flowed more easily than ever, the twins announced they were going to a friend's home a few miles away and might stay the night. "You will be okay here with our mother?" Soleil asked, her eyes direct. "Of course," Ethan said, feeling a peculiar flutter in his chest. Kaya simply nodded, her expression serene. After they left, a profound quiet settled over the house. Ethan helped Kaya clean up, their movements synchronized in the small kitchen. "Your daughters are remarkable," he said, breaking the silence. "They are wise for their years," Kaya replied, drying a plate with careful attention. "They carry their father's wit and their grandmother's sight. They worry for me. They believe a heart should not be a sealed lodge." Ethan wasn't entirely sure what that meant, but he sensed a loneliness beneath her words. "It's a big house for one person." She turned to look at him, her gaze holding his. "It has felt smaller since you arrived, Ethan Cole." The air between them grew warm and charged. He saw not just a hospitable elder, but a woman, vibrant, strong, and heartbreakingly beautiful in the soft light of the kerosene lamp. The realization struck him like a physical blow. He was attracted to her. Deeply, irrevocably so. It was a feeling that went beyond gratitude, weaving respect, admiration, and a fierce, sudden protectiveness into something powerful and new. They sat by the hearth, and she spoke of her late husband, a respected horseman and storyteller. She spoke of her grief, not as a fresh wound, but as a familiar landscape she had learned to walk. Ethan, in turn, spoke of his own life, its hustle, its hollow successes, the quiet loneliness of his apartment that he'd never fully acknowledged until now. "The girls," Kaya said softly, gazing into the flames, "they have old souls. They believe in signs, in fixing what is unbalanced. They brought you here, you know. It was not an accident." Ethan's mind spun. The car breaking down was a circumstance. Their invitation was a choice. They have been assessing. A faint, almost shy smile touched her lips. "As have I." The next morning, the twins returned, their eyes immediately seeking out Ethan and Kaya, reading the new, gentle ease between them. Their smiles were triumphant. The following days took on a ceremonial quality. The girls presented Ethan with a beautifully beaded belt. Kaya, one afternoon, gave him a fine, woven horsehair bracelet. He accepted these gifts, touched, still viewing them through the lens of generous hospitality. He was being welcomed into the family, he thought, like an honorary brother, a son. The true, staggering purpose of these courtship rituals, for that is what they were, eluded him completely. The cultural veil was thick. He saw their kindness, not their strategy, saw Kaya's growing warmth, not her conscious participation in her daughter's matchmaking. He was falling in love, freely, beautifully, but he believed he was the sole architect of that feeling, a happy accident in the middle of the desert. The final piece fell into place on a clear, cool night. A large meal was prepared, more elaborate than any before. An elder uncle, a man with a face like weathered leather, arrived and was treated with great deference. The air hummed with a festive, expectant energy Ethan couldn't quite place. He felt good, accepted, part of something. After eating, the twins stood. "Ethan," Liwan began, her voice formal. "You came to us a stranger, a man of the outside world. You have worked beside us, learned our ways, shared our food and our fire. You have brought light to our mother's eyes, which have been too long shadowed." Soleil continued. "In our way, a good man is a gift to a family. A mother's heart is a foundation for a home. We have seen the respect between you, the good feeling. It is strong and true." Kaya sat very still, watching Ethan, her hands folded in her lap. The uncle nodded slowly. Ethan, a smile still on his face from the good meal and camaraderie, listened, nodding along, thinking this was a beautiful speech of friendship. Then Liwan delivered the final, seismic line. "So, we have asked, and our mother has agreed. It is right. We have prepared everything. Tonight, with our uncle to witness, you will be married. You will become our father, and husband to Kaya." The silence that followed was absolute, broken only by the pop of a log in the hearth. Ethan's brain simply stopped. The words hung in the air, nonsensical, impossible. He looked from the twins' beaming, expectant faces to the solemn nod of the uncle, and finally to Kaya. Her expression was complex: hope, fear, vulnerability, but also a deep, unwavering certainty. She had known. This was not a surprise to her. She had been a willing, silent partner in this entire, gentle conspiracy. Married. The word finally scraped its way out of his throat. Tonight. You think, this is a marriage? He gestured weakly between himself and Kaya. It is a good match, the uncle intoned. The girls have seen it. Kaya accepts. You have accepted our ways, our home. You have taken her gifts. The bracelet on his wrist felt suddenly heavy as lead. The belt around his waist seemed to tighten. Every shared glance, every moment of teaching, every purposeful leave-taking by the twins flashed before his eyes, now cast in a blinding, terrifying new light. This wasn't hospitality, it was a courtship. He wasn't a guest, he had been a prospect. A candidate who had, completely unbeknownst to himself, passed every test. A storm of emotions erupted within him: shock, betrayal, disbelief, and a terrifying threat of something else, a wild, reluctant acknowledgement of the twisted logic of it all. He had come to care for Kaya deeply. The thought of leaving now felt like a tearing. But this was insane. I can't, he stammered, standing up, his chair scraping loudly. This is a misunderstanding, a huge one. I'm from Phoenix. I have a life. You can't just decide someone is getting married. The twins' smiles vanished, replaced by confusion and dawning hurt. Kaya's face closed, the vulnerability shuddering behind a mask of stoic pride. The uncle's eyes hardened. You have eaten from our table for many days, Soleil said, her voice cold. You have walked our land, taken the gifts of our mother's hand. You have filled a space in this home. Were these just the actions of a tourist? Her words lanced him. He had not been a tourist. He had been present, sincere in every moment. That was the horrible, beautiful trap. His feelings were real. His love for this place, his respect and growing affection for Kaya, they were genuine. But they existed outside the framework of this preordained conclusion. My feelings are my own, he said, forcing his voice to steady, directing his words to Kaya. Kaya, what I feel for you, it's real. It grew in me freely. But this isn't how it's done in my world. Marriage isn't something others arrange without asking the people involved. Kaya met his gaze. In my world, she said quietly, it sometimes is. The family sees what the heart may be too slow or too proud to recognize. My daughters saw a good man who brought peace to my spirit. I saw it too. I gave my consent. I believed you were also giving yours, in your way. He understood then the depth of the cultural canyon between them. His way, his casual acceptance, his growing closeness, had been read as enthusiastic consent. His horror now was not just refusal, it was a rejection of their entire system of understanding, a repudiation of their wisdom. The celebratory air was gone, replaced by a heavy, grieving silence. The uncle stood, muttered something in Apache, and left. The twins looked shattered. Ethan felt like an invader who had desecrated a sacred space. He spent a sleepless night in the guest room, his heart a battlefield. By dawn, a fragile clarity emerged. He could not marry her like this. But he could not just run away, either. The love he felt, and he now dared to name it, was not a lie. It was the context that was wrong. At first light, he found Kaya alone by the wash, watching the sunrise. I am leaving today, he said. The mechanic will come. I will go. She nodded, not looking at him, her profile regal and wounded. But, he continued, the words rushing out, I am not leaving you. I am leaving this plan. Kaya, if what I feel, and what you feel, is real, then it deserves a beginning that is ours. Not your daughter's, not your uncle's. Ours. Let me court you. Not as a stranded stranger, but as a man who wants to know you. In Phoenix, here, wherever. On our terms. She turned then, searching his face for dishonesty, for pity. She saw only earnest, desperate love and a profound respect for her that demanded she be chosen, not assigned. A long minute passed. My daughters will be angry. They will say you are disrespecting our traditions. I am asking for a new tradition, he whispered. Ours. A single tear traced a path through the fine dust on her cheek, but a small, true smile, the first of its kind, touched her lips. It was a smile of choice, not of arrangement. When Ethan drove away later that day, his car finally repaired, he did not look back with finality. He carried a promise, not a conclusion. The twins stood with their mother, their arms crossed, their faces solemn but no longer hostile. They had wanted a husband for their mother, a father for themselves. Ethan, in his chaotic, roundabout way, was not refusing the role. He was renegotiating the contract, on the most fundamental clause of all, that love, even when seen from the outside, must always be chosen from within. The desert road ahead was long, but for the first time, Ethan Cole felt he was truly going home, even as he drove away from it.